There will be gospel musicians, they're already there, but they were hidden by God in Kenya, that are going to be celebrated in all the four corners of the world. From Kenya,
Prophet Ndlovu prophesied carried a message of hope amidst the despair. He spoke of Kenya as a chosen nation, a beacon of divine favor and significance. Despite the trials and the tribulation, Ndlovu saw a future filled with promise and potential. He prophesied the emergence of gospel musicians who would transcend borders and languages, spreading their message of hope and healing to all corners of the heart.
there are many voices. There are many voices of ministers of the gospel, musicians, prophets, apostles, evangelists, prophets, apostles, evangelists, prophets, apostles, evangelists, prophets, apostles, evangelists, that God will disperse from Kenya in this season. Because God says Kenya is like a shofar. It's my horn that I want to blow in this season. That's why I'm breaking them. When they think they have everything sized up, He's saying, I deal my blows on them, because I cannot use a vessel that I've not broken. He says, this is the time for my sons and daughters in Kenya to begin to manifest in this season. There will be gospel musicians, they're already there, but they were hidden by God in Kenya, that are going to be celebrated in all the four corners of the world. From Kenya, they will sing in Swahili, they sing in English, they sing in whatever language, and their songs will be translated to many languages. Kenya will release gospel musicians with international acclaim. Holy Ghost-filled gospel musicians, prophetic gospel musicians, gospel musicians who will prophesy through music. There are men and women. I see more women than men who are gospel musicians that God will release from that land. There are also men, but I see fewer men as gospel musicians than women that God is going to release from that land. There are voices. They have always been there. When you check on your internet, you will see that they have always been there. But the glory which God is releasing in this season upon them, it will make a difference. The glory of God makes a difference. God is releasing musicians in Kenya with density. Not people who sing with a talent, but people who will worship God, who will usher us into the Holy of Holies with their music. Even if you don't understand Swahili, when you hear the melody, when you hear the instrumentation, when you hear how things are arranged, when you hear the voice will speak to your heart even if you don't understand the language. Your inner man will understand the meaning. And people will be healed by the music which will come from Kenya. He's saying, I've allowed them to cry and to weep in this season because I've not finished squeezing them, to blow them like a shofar in this season, to blow them like a horn in this season, to cause some of them to be elevated, to be end-time crusaders of the gospel of everlasting life, the gospel of eternal salvation. He's saying, I will disperse my own people from Kenya, from the shores of Kenya. I will disperse them to different parts of Africa, to different parts of the world, to the United States of America, to Europe. He's saying voices that have never been known, voices which have been despised in Kenya, I will release even in this season. He's saying, I will release even in this season. He's saying, I will release even in this season. He's saying, I will release even in this season. He's saying, I will release even in this season. He's saying, I will release even in this season. He's saying, I will release. He's saying, I will release.
As journalists, it is our duty to convey Ndlovu's prophecy with clarity and compassion. The floods that have ravaged Kenya are not just headlines. They are a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the power of nature. Ndlovu's words of solace and guidance in the midst of tragedy reminded us that even in our darkest hour, God's light still shines bright. In conclusion of the prophetic of Prophet Ian, Ndlovu's prophecy serves as the beacon of hope amidst the turmoil. As Kenya mourns the loss of life and livelihood, Ndlovu's message calls upon us to embrace faith, resilience, and unity in the face of adversity. May we heed his words with open hearts and might find this strength and solace in the promise of brighter tomorrow. This is Stephen, GC News.